Hey, 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 what's going on? What's going on? We have less than a minute and a half for today's message. Places, everybody. And of course, if you're watching on the video, you've got less than a minute to go get another glass of water. But guess what? You can put it on pause. See, sometimes we lose sight of the fact that life is about the ability to put it on pause. Sometimes, let me make that sometimes life is about the ability to put it on pause because we can't always put it on pause. But if you stop to think about it, you might find out that 8 out of 10 times you can put it on pause. What can you put on pause? You can put your anger on pause. You can put your comments on pause. You can put different actions on pause. So think about what you can put on pause to make things better for yourself and for those around you. But it does start with you. Make it good for you. We've got less than a minute and make it good for you. And then guess what? You'll make it good for everybody else just by a little pause like that. Okay, we got less than 30 seconds to go for today's message. And we're going to get ready. So I'm not going to put that on pause anymore. All right, I'm looking at the clock, and the clock says 1 o'clock. No, it doesn't. Yes, it does. No, it doesn't. Yes, it does. No, it doesn't. All right, here we go. Yes, it does. Boom. So, goodness to you. It's Sporty King. And I always say goodness. Why? Because I don't know whether you're watching morning, afternoon, or evening. But isn't it great to have good in front of your salutation? Welcome to Truth Thursday, where we recognize that tests are rarely understood until testimonies heal. TRUTH. In creating this broadcast title, first I decided to go with the fact that truth needs only half the letters from the word Thursday. Second, we've all heard that the truth shall set you free. But what we need to add is that freedom can be a tough choice because freedom is a result. You may have to choose different surroundings when you choose to be free. You see, my affirmation for free is FREE, facts, risk, empathy, and excellence. Like truth, you'll find it in my book, Affirmations. Now, an affirmation brings an affirmation brings words to life, giving, but not just putting a word to each letter like an acronym, but they define the word and bring it to life and turn them into an affirmation. And using just the affirmation free to bring that to life, we see that the true freedom is what? The F. It's based on facts, not luck, not guesses. So just using that, and then risk, RISK, is an affirmation within itself. Recognition is success's key. We're reminded that once you know who you are, you have to also be ready to take a chance, a risk on being who you are. And we may not know how important it is to take that chance until we do take it. And I always say that freedom is always worth the risk. So getting into what truth stands for, we'll continue to start by embracing that first word, and that is test. Test is the root. You can't have the freedom, forecast, and fullness of a testimony without the test. Hope you had a fun. So meanwhile, I hope you had a fun and filling Thanksgiving, a filling and funny Thanksgiving breather, because today's truth uses Matthew 7:15, stating, "Beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravaging. Ooh, I misspelled that. That should be ravaging wolves." And that's going to double the concept of my belief that we need to beware your prayers. Beware our prayers. And I say double the concept because I want you to be sure that you beware both pronunciation of PRAYERS. Remember, how you say what you say has a different impact on who you say it to. So we tend to easily pronounce the to describe prayers as prayers, as the communications with a higher power, such as a deity or ancestor, that could include expressions of praise, requests for help, or gratitude. Say your prayers. And many people find prayers offer comfort, strength, and a way to seek guidance during different parts of their day. Here's some examples of prayers from different faiths. Christianity, we have the Lord's Prayer, which is a well-known Christian prayer that includes requests for daily bread, forgiveness, and deliverance from evil. And then there's the morning prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you for the gift of this new day. Guide my every thought, word, and action. Help me to be present today, to love well, and to trust you fully. Give me peace in uncertainty and strength for whatever I face. Christianity prayers. Then there are Islamic prayers, the 5 daily prayers. And I put in parentheses, I put the pronunciation to make sure I get it right, but it's Salah. Muslims are obligated to pray 5 times a day. That could be Selah. Muslims are obligated to pray 5 times a day at specific times. There's the Fajr, which is pre-dawn. There's Dahir, which is afternoon. There's Asir. So Dahir, by the way, is afternoon. Asir is afternoon. Mojirib, which is after sunset. And Isha, which is night. And those of you of the Islamic faith, if I pronounced any of them wrong, what do they say? Blame it on my tongue, not my heart. But that's one of the things that we need to learn. And I actually had written it down. I think I should have maybe put a little bit more spot for me to emphasize the words. I'm going to have to go back and do that. So Christianity, Islamic, and then there's also Judaism. And there's the 3 daily prayers. And see, Jewish law designates 3 daily prayers. Morning prayer, which is Shaharit, afternoon prayer, which is Mincha, and evening prayer, which is Mariv or Ma'ariv. Remind yourself that there are also the people who pray for you, your prayers. And not all prayers are seeking your comfort, strength, or positive guidance to bring joy into your day and or life. You see, someone may say, hey, I'll pray for you, while meaning that they'll hope you get nothing that you want. Let that sink in. In fact, I learned another twist to this message this morning in my Bible reading. You see, most people are familiar with the story of Jonah in the belly of the whale. Some may even know that Jonah was said to be running away from the Lord. Yet, did you know that he was running because God told him to pray for somebody? The Bible I read is called the Touchpoint Bible, and it gives a modern day introduction to each book in the Bible. Here's part of the intro to the book of Jonah. The book of Jonah is the story of a person who ran away from God. God wanted Jonah to pray to the wicked city of Nineveh in a foreign land and preach to the people there. These were not just any people. They were the greatest enemies of Israel, known for their glorification of evil and their brutal torture practices. Jonah's assignment was to call the people of Nineveh to repent, to turn to God. Jonah was afraid that they actually would listen to his prayers and that God would forgive them. You see, he could not imagine the evil Assyrians getting out of the judgment they so richly deserved. He could understand forgiveness supplied in full measure to his own people, but this was too much to ask. And good morning. It's not too much to ask. Good morning from Roger Carroll, my sister here from Chicago in Charlotte with me. But I just wanted to let that slide stay up there again for a second. Jonah was afraid that the people of Nineveh would actually listen to him and turn away from evil as God, and that God would forgive them. Not everybody is praying in your good interest. And so that's what Jonah didn't want to do. Let me go back to what we have written. So why did Jonah have such a hard time with this? This is, by the way, still in the introduction to the book. Why did Jonah have such a hard time with this? We don't know. But it is easy to imagine that one of his family members or a close relative may have been the victim of a brutal Assyrian attack or crime. When we think in terms of our own feelings, if someone in our family were attacked or molested, we can empathize with Jonah. Now in Jonah 3:10 through 4 and 2, we learned what Jonah thought of regarding his praying for Nineveh. You see, when God saw that they had put a stop to this is what is in Jonah 3:10, 4 through 2. When God saw that they had put a stop to their evil ways, he had mercy on them and didn't carry out the destruction that he had threatened. This change of plans upset Jonah, and he became very angry. So he complained to the Lord about it. He said, "Didn't I say before I left home that you would do this, Lord? That is why I ran away to Tarshish. I knew that you were a gracious and compassionate God, slow to get angry and filled with unfailing love. I knew how easily you could cancel your plans for destroying these people. But instead, you forgave them." You see, sometimes God will assign your enemy to pray for you. God had assigned Jonah to pray for his enemies, for these brutal Assyrians who had destroyed his people. And so he didn't want his prayer to come true. He believed in God, and he believed that what his prayer would be granted. So he didn't want to give it. Sometimes God will assign your enemy to pray for you. And sometimes that's why you have to recognize that everyone who's praying for you does not necessarily have your best interest at heart. So the truth is, we must continuously choose our messengers carefully as we recognize that we are carefully being chosen as messengers. You've heard me say that before. In that process, what you can most control is your worth as a messenger. When you pray for someone, incorporate the practice of letting them know what you're praying for, rather than just stating, "Hey, I'll pray for you." Here's what I use: praying in faith, not fear, for your smooth recovery from your loss. Or I'll put praying in faith, not fear, for your calm in this new storm. And with both of those, I include at a time when speed cannot heal. Praying in faith, not fear, for your smooth recovery from your loss at a time when speed cannot heal. Praying in faith, not fear, for your calm in the storm at a time when speed cannot heal. We need you to remember how you say what you say has a different impact on who you say it to. Not all prayers are for your healing. Beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravaging wolves. Beware your prayers and your prayers. And remember, freedom is a worthy result and even a risk. You have to know what you're doing and continue to be who you are when you join me on Truth Thursday, where we recognize that tests are rarely understood until testimonies heal them. Follow the QR code to my store where you can purchase any of my books, including affirmations, as well as, and some of my other free stuff, as well as my limited edition Life t-shirt, as well as sign up to receive my monthly fun letter, The Golden Brick Road, and some other free stuff to keep you connected to the truth at my Square store. And that's the truth. Have a wonderfully safe second weekend in December. And beware your prayers, Be conscious of how you pray. Oops. Let's go with this one. I'm Sporty King. Wishing you goodness. That was a combination of my Monday midday moment. Countdown till I hang up. And that is 10, 9. Once again, thank you, Roger Carroll, for joining me. And if you're watching the video, click in the comments where you're joining in from. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and he is. Peace.